Hey there crew members, Starfleet personnel. No introductions here, we're just going to get straight into this video. I'm super excited to show you the progress that I've made on this bridge test model, and a huge thank you to Doug in Ohio, all the way over there in the States. Doug was working on making a 3D chess set, you know, the Star Trek 3D chess set, and then I asked him, would it be possible for you to print some Burke chairs at 1/25th scale? And he got back to me and he said, hey, we'll see how it goes. And then he basically printed these out all in his own time and posted them to me from Ohio, and I got them in the post about 5 days ago. So thank you, Doug. I can't thank you enough for that. That was a really epic gesture. Also, I mean, just check out the back here. It's even got that that kind of symbol on the back of the chair. There, you can maybe see that better. So wow, I'm just absolutely blown away by that gesture. So let's continue with what's going on this bridge model. In the last video, I talked you through how I made Captain Kirk's chair, the center seat, the command chair here, which has that self-correcting mechanism in it via magnets in the back of the chair. That's all in the previous video, so if you haven't seen that, the process of the build for that, go and have a look. In that previous video, I said that my next job was going to create the Helm and navigation console, Mr. Sulu and Mr. Chekhov's post, and so here it is. This took me 3 days to build, and I spent a long time on this because this just has to be right. It's got to look right. You can see from these photos here that the amount of detailing that went into these switches and buttons on this console. And the one thing that I'm really happy with, that was just purely by chance, I was thinking, as I was making this, I was thinking, how am I going to get that that warning light there? You know, that thing in the middle there that kind of beeps on and off when the sensors, you know, Mr. Sulu says, Captain, the sensors just snapped on. That was my best impression of Hikaru Sulu there. And I was thinking, how am I going to make this? What am I going to make it with? Is it going to just be a folded piece of white card? Almost symbolic. And then I don't know, this is where some kind of like inspiration just comes from the universe, because in front of me was a pencil eraser. And it just struck me that, wow, this is the perfect material to make this indicator light from. That material of the rubber of the eraser just gives itself perfectly to being shaped into that shape. So super happy with that. Here is the development of the stations around the bridge, and again you can just see the next dimension that these Burke chairs give to that when they're in position. And also you can see the shiny, slightly shiny surface of these control panels, which will have the same treatment as this here with the buttons and the switches. So I'm going to spend quite a long time on all these control panels around the bridge, and I'm just very excited to see how this starts to look, how this starts to come together. There's the overhead monitors in place for engineering, and the finished turbo lift alcove. There are some mistakes on this, and again, this is why I'm doing test models, and especially of the bridge. I mean, the bridge, it looks simple, but it's not. It's a complex structure that just has to be right. For instance, one of the mistakes is, you see this schematic here, it needs to be a little bit higher, but it's stuck on now, so that's staying as it is. Okay. Also, the red alert and the dedication plaque also could just do with being a little bit higher, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm learning a massive amount about this bridge build, so that when it comes to the final build, which will have lighting in it, I'm going to be absolutely confident that this final build is the deal. A little bit of behind the scenes there, so we can see the structure of the bridge panels, how they go together. And like I say, in the final build, the finished build of the bridge model and the rest of the ship really, these areas here will have LEDs behind them, and the bridge monitors will have LEDs behind them to light them up and just make the whole thing real. There's another one of those fantastic Burke chairs. I'm just going to call these the Burke chairs from Ohio. That is their official title now. And Doug, I've got to say to you, I'm probably going to be in touch with you again to see if you can send me another bunch of those. And of course we'll come to some kind of arrangement about that. A look inside the turbo elevator. You see the control handles there that we see Kirk and Spock and other crew members get hold of whenever they're travelling. It also needs another 2 added to either side of the door in here. But anyway, the doors are open out onto the bridge. And if I just take this off, that's just a temporary thing, we can get a better look at those double doors. So now we can see the doors of the actual turbo elevator and the doors of the exit onto the bridge. So double doors. We only saw those double doors in a few episodes of the classic Star Trek. One of them was definitely Tomorrow is Yesterday, where Captain Kirk and Captain Christopher are entering the turbo lift before heading to the bridge. Alright, anyway, so here's one of the exits off the bridge, one of the secondary exits, and if we come around here to this position, so this is where the view screen is going to be, and there's going to be an exit here and an exit here. Okay, so that leads into the service corridor and the bathrooms in the service corridor for the bridge crew. And the reason that I'm including another door here is, as I said, if there's an emergency on this bridge, I want the bridge crew to be able to get off that bridge as fast as possible into safe areas. But also, just from a convenience point of view, okay, there we have Sulu's post on the left, Chekhov's post on the right, and I always think it's, you know, I think in the animated series it was shown that there was an exit here, just one exit here, and I always think, well, that's a bit of a shame for Mr. Chekhov then, because he's got to get up from here and walk all the way across to there. Why not just have him, he's able to walk across here and exit here, and there will be bathroom facility here and bathroom facility here. So very, very convenient for this bridge crew to enter the maintenance corridor for whatever reason. This big space here behind the view screen, as you know from if you've seen the previous videos, is going to be a substantially large stairway down to deck 2. As we travel around the maintenance corridor here, you can see this white area, which at the moment is just a piece of paper marking that area. But my thoughts here is that this is going to be a large maintenance elevator which travels down through all of the decks. Well, actually not all of the decks, it travels down to deck 8. And my idea is that deck 8, if you see the classic blueprints, deck 8 is the recreation area and the computer core. But my thoughts are that deck 8 could become a maintenance deck, okay, where repairs from all over the saucer section can be made. Alright, so if something needs to be repaired, if an entire bridge station needs to be repaired or updated, it can be taken in the maintenance elevator. And the same thing, you know, transportation of chairs and all those kind of things that we don't think about, because let's just get a little bit real here. This turbo elevator that we see is not going to be used for transporting Burke chairs and repaired bridge station pieces and all that kind of thing when the bridge crew need to be using that elevator. Okay, so it's all going to be done via this maintenance elevator here, and also there will maybe be a separate elevator for maintenance crew to travel up. So that's just that. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, because as you know, from previous videos, the ship that I'm building here is not canon. It is not the Enterprise that we see in the Franz Joseph blueprints or in the FASA blueprints or whatever. I'm building this as though it's the real ship, and you know that from previous videos, so I'm not going to go on about that. But I'm just trying to bring some realism, some practicality to this enormous starship. As we come around the maintenance corridor here, we can see another one of those large maintenance elevators, and if I bring the camera high up, you can see that there are actually 2 of those maintenance elevators either side of the bridge module. Okay, so like I say, these maintenance elevators will be travelling down from the bridge to deck 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and ultimately 8 to deck 8, which I'm thinking is going to be an entire deck for fabrication and repairs and maintenance. Let's just come around a little bit. So here we can see again the turbo lift, which slides around here, and that's the main bridge elevator shaft travelling all the way down to deck 10 and maybe all the way down to deck 11, the lowest deck in the saucer section. Back here is that kind of nub that we see on the outside of the ship, which I'm considering to be storage for turbo lift. So several turbo lifts will be servicing the bridge here, and there's another one, so there'll be another turbo lift in there. Continuing further around, I've just temporarily placed these curving superstructures of the outer hull of the bridge dome in place, just so you can get an idea of how the outer hull fits with the bridge model. Alright, so you can see again in the maintenance corridor, and there's that beautiful classic Star Trek red mesh, and behind that is turbo elevator monitoring station. A lot of people say that this would be a lonely job. So there's just one chair in there, but you know, it could be perfect if you just need a little bit of peace and quiet and you get the duty shift to in this small room in the maintenance corridor. I'm really looking forward to getting all of these in place around the model, and then placing a circular element here where the sensor dome will go over the whole of the bridge. Okay, I think that's it for this tour. Just before we go, here is a previous model that I made quite a long time, several months ago now, of one of the briefing room tables, and there are the beautiful 1/25th scale Burke chairs now placed around that table. The really great thing is now that I've got these accurate Burke chairs, I can really relate the other elements that I'm building with these Burke chairs, because this table now is actually not big enough. There's not enough space here. The table needs to be a little bit bigger, and so that there can be a tiny little bit more space between these chairs, and so these comm station things here on the table also need to be a little bit further apart. Also, this computer here that we often see Mr. Spock sat at in the show also needs to be actually a little bit smaller. Okay, but anyway, I'm really pleased with it, and I'm really happy that I'm doing all these test models, because it's tiny little things like that that need to be addressed, noticed and worked out. As always, I hope the video finds you well, and I hope this video leaves you with a little bit of classic Star Trek magic, wonder and hope. Thank you so much to the patrons that are supporting this mission. You folk really are the dilithium crystals of this enterprise, keeping the project travelling at a steady warp speed forwards. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. I always love reading your comments, and I'll see you again soon with the next video. Let's just finish with a view from the captain's chair and onto that helm and navigation station. See you soon. Bye for now. Shh.